All right, folks. What's up? It's Francisco here, the Marlins historian, and I'm gonna go through the Marlins 1997 media guide. There's no baseball today. There's no baseball from yesterday, and so there's baseball tomorrow. That's gonna be fun, right? The Marlins take on the Orioles. But so I'm bored. I'm sure a lot of people are bored without baseball right now, especially if you follow me. So I decided, hey, why not go through the Marlins 1997 media guide and see what we got. So yeah, let's do that. All right. So I chose 19. I mean, this is the next year. I did 1993 already. So that's the previous one that I did. There we go. My voice is a bit low there. However, now it's a bit higher. In any case, yeah, but the Marlins have had so far. It's very surprising. The current Miami Marlins 2023 have had the best start to a season since the 1997 Marlins. And remember, those 97 Marlins were loaded, and we're about to see how loaded that team was, because that's probably the one of the 2 years that the Marlins actually splurged in free agency. And so there it is. So I'm just gonna show it off here with this kind of makeshift setup that I've got right now. I'm still trying to put together this studio, this mini studio here for myself and for doing stuff with regards to Marlins history and just looking at Marlins knickknacks and everything like that, because that's kind of what I'm into with regards to Marlins history, is just kind of like all the stuff around it. So this is the 97 media guide. It's very tall and very kind of thick a little bit here. There's a lot of information stuffed into this. This is, of course, before everybody just kind of sent you a PDF of everything that you needed to know about the Marlins. But this is very, very high quality. You can feel it. You can sense it. I don't know if you guys can see the reflection there, but the Marlins logo right here, you can see it has a texture to it. You can feel it's popping. It's popping right now. I can feel the fish. I can feel the fish down in my soul. And they didn't have to do this. They did not have to do this, but they went the extra mile to make this very, very classy looking. If you guys notice the actual typeface, the font that they use for this 97 media guide is the same typeface they used for the 1997 banner that the Marlins would put up in left field over at Pro Player Stadium. So it's all connected. That's how they did it. So this is the copper plate typeface. If you guys want to replicate it on my YouTube channel, which I have actually launched now, and there's like 1,300 subscribers, so that's cool. But on my YouTube channel, I replicated it, so you can see. But yeah, it's the copper plate typeface, bold, real thick, and you'll get this same effect here if you guys want to do that. And then in the back, you've got a Budweiser or Bud Light ad here. So pitchers ice their arms, outfielders ice their knees. Aren't you glad you're a fan? All right, well, and yeah, this is legit. I'm wearing gloves this time because the last time, the ink on this kind of just rubs off on your skin, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. I don't like it very much. So it's one of the good things about physical newspapers going away is you don't have to have that ink feeling on your fingers and just kind of sticking on there. All right, let me just kind of, gosh, I'm still trying to get the actual correct mic levels here, so bear with me as I'm this is really a test run for what I'm doing here. There we go. Anyways, so let's actually crack this thing open and see what's on the page here. So in the middle, I mean, just to start here, you have an AT&T ad. AT&T, the proud sponsor of the '97 Marlins, and all this other stuff. And let's see, we've got this thing that pops out, and it's the 1997 Marlins roster. So that's pretty cool, pretty legit. And you have all of their information from where they were born, where they reside in the off season, and where they were in 1996, and their records. So they start off with the pitchers, then the catchers, then the infielders, and then the outfielders. So you see there, it starts with. Let me try and zoom this. Just get this close up here, and I gotta work with this light here. I don't have my lighting set up just yet. I am getting lights to come in here and set them up, but for now I've got a makeshift thing going on. But yeah, you can see there Antonio Fonseca, Kevin Brown, Dennis Cook, Vic Derensburg, Alex Fernandez, Rick Helling. These are the guys on the roster here. Bunch of guys that, of course, if you follow the '97 team, you'll recognize these names and just where they resided in the offseason, right? You got Lee Vaughn, Tony Saunders, Pat Rapp, whose birthday it was the other day, and then you got Charles Johnson, Greg Zahn, the infielders, Bobby Bonilla, Josh Booty, Alex Arias, Luis Castillo, who was on that '97 team, but injuries and underperformance forced the Marlins to seek out a trade, and they got Craig Counsell from the Colorado Rockies, and well, it was history after that. Edgar Renteria, at the time he was wearing number 3, but he switched to number 16. Then, of course, the outfielders, Moises Alou, John Cangelosi, Todd Dunwoody, Jim Eisenreich, Billy McMillan, Joe Orsulak, Gary Sheffield, Devon White. So these were the '97 Marlins as of, I would assume this is opening day in 1997. Then you close this up, and you got to read it this way. You got the non-roster invitees right here. So non-roster invitees. And let's see, who didn't, let me see, do I notice anybody? Oh, Mike Redmond was a non-roster invitee. Other guys that actually made the Marlins roster, you got Dave Berg. Mark Kotze, of course, was a highly touted prospect at the time, so he got a non-roster invitee as well. But really the only one that really stands out, or the only two really, are Mark Kotze and Mike Redmond. So let's close this back up, and then you see here that's the schedule, the team schedule from April to September. And then over here is the Marlins promotions for that season. So they had Super Saturdays, and the deluxe giveaway items that select Saturday games for the first 25,000 fans. Fiesta Latina is a 2-hour party in Sportstown prior to every Saturday home game. They had Family Sundays, head to toe, days off for all kids 12 and under, and the chance to collect the Marlins uniform by attending these designated Sunday games. Family Fun Day, parties take place in Sportstown for 2 hours prior to every Sunday home game. And of course the Diamond Dash, which of course the team still does, and most Major League teams do that on a Sunday at home. Commemorative Pin Wednesdays, so 5 select Wednesdays. First 25,000 fans get a 97 commemorative pin. Then the theme weekends, Billy's All-Star Weekend, Billy the Marlin giveaway to all kids 12 and under. Summer Fun Weekend, Great Summer Giveaway items to the first 25,000 fans, and a post-game concert on Sunday. Back to school weekend, Hispanic Heritage Weekend, Latin Fair all weekend with a post-game concert and a pre-game Cuban Legends baseball game. That's interesting. I wonder what they did for that. And then Fan Appreciation Weekend, September 19th through the 21st, which I think would be their final homestand before the regular season ended. And then they have their promotional calendar here. You can see what they were giving away. So, schedule magnet, team calendar, screensaver. Did you download that, or what the heck was that? Wristband. I don't know what that's. It's like an actual screensaver. Okay. I don't know. What is that? I need to find that out. Was it like a floppy disk or something? I have no idea. I mean, this is 97, right? I'm just trying to think. Maybe a CD? Maybe it might have been a CD. CDs were pretty cheap to produce at the time, so maybe. I'd have to find that out. I need to know what the Marlins 1997 screensaver, and if that's somewhere out there in the internet, then I'd like to find out what that contained. I'm sure it was just like a slideshow, but it'd still be nice to kind of see what that was. Okay. Let's see. Hold on. Gosh darn it. This setup is a little weird, but I'm trying. I'm trying here. Let's see. So let's wristbands, commemorative pin number 1, Jackie Robinson nights. That's right. That was 97. This is the year that's the Major League Baseball had universally retired number 42 across the entire league. So that was 1997. 93 to 97 opening day pin set, duffel bag, commemorative pin number 2, batting practice jersey, and inaugural series pin, Marlins car flag, kids opening day, all-star pin set, bats, commemorative pin number 3, pool float, beach towel, post-game concert, floppy hat, baseball glove, commemorative pin number 4, inaugural series pin, and commemorative pin number 5. You notice the inaugural series pins were against American League teams, because this was the first year of interleague play amongst the NL and the AL. So they had them against the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles that season. There you go. All right, so table of contents, you got all the stuff here. The 97 Marlins, all the players, the coaches, the front office. The 96 season in review. Everything about their opponents that season, including the American League teams, Baltimore, Boston, Detroit, New York, and Toronto. The Tigers used to be in the American League East. And an American League directory, because that was the first season you actually had to care about the American League for Marlins fans. Records and history, player development, scouting, and all that. So I'm sure Fish on the Farm would love to see this. General information, miscellaneous, and whatnot. The Marlins logo. What? I'd like to know about that. And then you have a little ditty here as to who wrote this out and the people that put this together and who printed it. So someone had asked me about the 1993 one that I was checking out to see. I don't recall finding that information, but if you do watch this, there it is. There's some information, maybe, because I think he said his dad worked for the company that printed this, so, and it was in Miami, so there you go. All right, I want to open this and be very careful. I love the amount of teal that they're using in this. It's so refreshing. The day that the Marlins return to teal, it's going to be a glorious day for all of us, But here's all the information as to everybody that was working for the Marlins off of the baseball field, maybe some on the field. But you've got, of course, Chairman Wayne Huizenga, and then partners, executive, baseball operations. And there's, I mean, of course, Dave Dombrowski, who I think he should be in the Hall of Fame, but you know that. You got Al Avila, who famously, I mean, he didn't do so great as the Detroit Tigers GM, but he's the guy that found Miguel Cabrera. You got John Bowles, of course, who was the vice president of player development. Of course, would take over the Marlins twice as the manager. Got Tony Perez in here as well as a special assistant to the general manager. And I'm just trying to find names that stand out to me on this. Let's see. And he's got a bunch of coordinators and executives and team photographers and broadcasting at the time. You had Joe Angel. And the Marlins had the thing where their TV and radio broadcasters were one and the same. It wasn't one radio guy and one TV guy. They had guy. I think they normally, it would be like Joe Angel would do the first 3 innings, and then Dave O'Brien would take over for like the next 3 innings, and then Joe Angel would finish off the rest of the game after that. So that was kind of their setup at the time. But Joe Angel, Dave O'Brien, of course, Tommy Hutton. I think this was Tommy Hutton's first season as the Marlins color analyst. Yeah, still had Jay Randolph hanging around, doing the pre and post game show. And then Felo Ramirez as the Spanish broadcaster, and Manolo Alvarez as well. And then finance people, and the people in Brevard, where the Marlins had their spring training complex out at Space Coast Stadium. Let me continue here. So I got stuff about Wayne Huizenga. Oh boy. I mean, he shelled out the money for this season, but we all know what would happen later. So all of his stuff here, all the information that we would want to know about the man. At the time, owned the Florida Panthers, and let's see. So, chairman and co-CEO of Republic Industries Incorporated Service Company, chairman of Extended Stay America. I did not know that. Really, Extended Stay, huh? And the Florida Panthers, Hyatt Pier 66 Resort and Marina, and the Radisson Bahia Mar Resort and Yachting Center in Fort Lauderdale. And he was previously the vice chairman of the board of Viacom and chairman of the board and chief executive officer of Blockbuster. And the sole majority owner of a bunch of businesses. Of course, this man knew how to make money, but man, did he not like to spend it if he didn't have to. And if he did, he didn't do it for long. But yeah, 100% ownership of the Florida Panthers, the Florida Marlins at the time, the Miami Dolphins, and Pro Player Stadium. And co-founder Waste Management, Blockbuster. I mean, I think later on, Auto Nation as well. I mean, this man knew how to make money. Man knew how to make money. That's for sure. Okay, and then I don't know who these people are. I don't care. Does it? Harry Huizenga. Was that his brother? Is that his brother? That might be his brother. There's a son. There's the Marlins logo. Let's see. I want to read this. When Wayne Huizenga made his decision on a nickname for Florida's first Major League Baseball team, he turned to one of his favorite forms of recreation. A longtime sport fisherman, Huizenga dubbed his team the Marlins because the fish is a fierce fighter and an adversary that tests your mettle. But the selection also had historical basis. From 1956 through 70 and 82 through 88, various minor league clubs in Miami carried the Marlins name. Then you got Donald Smiley here, who I think has a Twitter account, if I recall. right? Was it him or Dean Jordan? I'm not sure. Somebody, one of them has a Twitter account here, and about him, and a lot of his staff, the Huizenga staff, were also pulling double duty with the Marlins and the Florida Panthers, and even the Miami Dolphins, triple duty. Dave Dombrowski, there he is. There's the man. There's the architect. The architect of the 97 Marlins, and planted a lot of the seeds of the 2003 Marlins. So there he is. Let's see, began his career with the White Sox in '78, and then I think he came from Montreal, the Montreal Expos. So let's see, Jonathan D. Mariner, James Ross. Of course, the Marlins, always in remembrance of Carl Barger. They dedicated their inaugural season to him. He passed away in December of '92 at the baseball winter meetings. And they retired number 5, which was Joe DiMaggio's number, who was his favorite player. And then Jeffrey Loria then completely crapped on that legacy by unretiring the number for Logan Morrison, who played like crap while wearing number 5. And the Marlins still haven't rectified that. I don't know if they ever will. Let's see. Got Gary Hughes, who's the vice president of player personnel, and director of scouting for the Expos. A lot of these guys came from Montreal. And got to remember, the Expos were fantastic at scouting and finding guys. Just the amount of talent that was found in Montreal is insane. The fact that they didn't win a World Series is probably one of the greatest tragedies in baseball, especially in '94. But yeah, there's a lot of talent that went behind that in Montreal. I would say the Rays are the closest equivalent that we have to it, but the Rays have actually been able to get close to a championship. Got John Bowles, who would of course become the Marlins manager in '96 and in 1999. Got Al Avila, I already pointed him out. Got Hall of Famer Tony Perez here. Let's keep going. Team physician. Let's see. Bunch of people. Let's try and speed through this. Okay. There's our man. There's our man. Jim Leyland named the third manager in Marlins history on October 4th, 1996. There's our man. So, all right. So that was one of the big gets of the offseason that the Marlins had. So Jim Leyland, Toledo, Ohio, lived in Parkland while he was with the Fish. And 11 seasons with the Pittsburgh Pirates. One of the most successful managers of that era. Pirates won the East 3 consecutive years in a row. And one of the most beloved managers in Pirates history. We got him that one in '97. And, of course, did a fantastic job in Detroit. So, Jim Leyland. And you have his entire managerial record up to that point. All that time in the minor leagues. Appalachian League, Midwest League, Southern League, Florida State League. He managed the Lakeland team, which I think has been a long time the affiliate of the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers have their spring training in Lakeland, been there forever. And then his first managerial gig with the Chicago White Sox in a interim basis, but then of course took over the Pirates job and Had a lot of winning with the Pirates. And unfortunately, he left Pittsburgh because they were getting cheap. They weren't going to compete, and he was not going to sit around for that. So yeah, Jimmy Leland. Then he brought a lot of his staff from Pittsburgh on over. Rich Donnelly, Bruce Kim, I got Jerry Manuel here, who would himself become a manager. Got Larry Rothschild, who also was the Tampa Bay Devil Rays' first ever manager. Let's keep going. Tommy Sant, first base coach. All right, so we got a couple images here. Got Kevin Brown on this side. You got Jeff Conine and Gary Sheffield here. So Kevin Brown led Major League Baseball with a 1.89 ERA and was second in the Cy Young voting and set a club record with 17 wins. Then so that was the first ever Cy Young snub for the Marlins. Three-time All-Star Gary Sheffield set club and personal records with 42 home runs and 120 RBI in 1996. So now we're finally getting to the players. We got Kurt Abbott. We've got Antonio Alfonseca. We've got Moises Alou. We got Alex Arias. Let's keep going here. Bobby Bonilla. You see, the more esteemed the player is, the longer his pages are here. Got all of his stats and everything like that. And they even have some of these nice tidbits here. The best of the switch hitting sluggers. So you got career home run leaders. Mickey Mantle, Eddie Murray, Reggie Smith, Chili Davis, Ted Simmons, Ken Singleton. You got Bobby Bonilla at the time. Had the 7th most home runs by a switch hitter at the time. So, and was number 11 as far as RBIs at the time before the 97 season started. Josh Bode, who I think went back, like he stopped, like he came up with the Marlins. And then he stopped playing baseball and went back to play college football, right? I think that was his trajectory. I forgot where. He's from Starkville, Mississippi. That's where Mississippi State is. So I think I don't know where he played. Kevin Brown. There you go. Kevin Brown. Let's see. Do they have any extra stuff? And then they have all his stuff and everything like that. Career and game highs at the time. He got his low hit game. What is low hit game? I mean, yeah, he threw. Oh no, that's right. In '97, he threw his no hitter in '97. That's right. At the time that he had a 2-hitter back in May 3rd in 1989 against the New York Yankees. But then that season in '97, he would pitch a no hitter against the Giants. John Cangelosi. Let's keep going. Alrighty. Let me see. Here's Luis Castillo. So, yeah, Luis Castillo is kind of a weird thing with the 97 club. He made his debut back in '96, played 41 games, but and he of course received a '97 ring, but I think even the Baseball Reference page doesn't officially put him as a 2-time World Series champion because he wasn't even on the roster at that point. but he did contribute enough that season before I think he got injured and just wasn't doing so hot. And remember, this is his second year in Major League Baseball, so the fact that Luis Castillo, whose number should be retired, I know everybody's like Conine, yeah, but Conine wore two different numbers, 18 and 19, and of course he has the two rings, legitimately for both, like with significant time. But Luis Castillo was, I mean, spent so like Marlins have had so very few guys that have spent a lot of time in Miami, and Luis Castillo was one of them. From the minor leagues, I mean, he was in the Marlins system since 1993. So from 1993 until through 2005, Luis Castillo was part of the Marlins organization. That is as long as I can't even think of another player that spent that much time with the Fish in every single level of baseball, from the Dominican Summer League to Gulf Coast League and the minors and everything like that. I mean, it's Luis Castillo, number one. Just put it up there. Oh, look at that, Jeff Conine. There you go. There's Jeff Conine. So, started in left field on opening day for the fourth consecutive year as one of only two players, including Alex Arias, remaining at this time in '97. Him and Alex Arias were the only two of the original '93 opening day roster left. And then one of seven players, Arias, Chris Hammond, Rob Nen, Pat Rapp, Gary Sheffield, and Dave Weathers, that has played in all four Marlins seasons heading into 1997. So, 175 hits, surpassed his team record of 174 in '93. I mean, at this point, he had cemented himself as Mr. Marlin. All right. So, just a lot of information here about Jeff Conine's career. Oh yeah, and look at the thing with Luis Castillo. They were already noting how just his speed, his blazing speed, already at that point. So Conine versus Marlins opponents. Holy crap! Jeff Conine was a brave killer. Look at that. He had 350 at that time. Let's see, got Dennis Cook. Let's keep going here. Vic Derensburg. I don't think he factored much in '97. And they got Todd Dunwoody, Jim Eisenreich, who I think he had a home run in the '97 World Series in Cleveland. Alex Fernandez, who was another one of the big gets. Miami native. He was the big hometown boy coming back home. And, of course, torn rotator cuff during the playoffs. So, but he was the really big get. He was the significant big get. I think I had posted a clip of the Marlins. I forgot who they were facing. They might have been like them against the Dodgers, but the play-by-play announcer was talking about that Alex Fernandez had to set up a separate phone line that was run by either his dad or his brother or his cousin or something, to answer all the phone calls and their fan mail. Like it was like a big deal that he this guy had come back home to play for the Marlins. Okay, Rick Helling. Rick Helling, who was on the 97 team and was actually on the 2003 team, but he was part of the trade. He was sent off to Texas as part of the trade to get Ugat Urbina alongside the Marlins, one of the Marlins' top prospects at the time, which was Adrian Gonzalez, who the Marlins selected first overall in the MLB draft in 2000. You got Felix Heredia, Dustin Hermanson. Let's see, there's Liban. So Liban Hernandez. So another one of the just at the time, like his thing was it's very short. I think he also got some Rookie of the Year votes as well for '96. But you just have his amateur record at that point. But this would be the year. Bill Hurst. Let's see. Mark Hutton. Let's keep going. Keep going. We're about getting close to the halfway point of this booklet. Charles Johnson. There we go. Our Gold Glove catcher. Charles Edward Johnson. There we go. Andy Larkin. Let's keep going. Al Leiter. Of course, he threw his no-hitter in '96. So there you go. Wait, Al Leiter's first name is Alois? Really? It's not Alan? Well, I just learned something right there. All right, so Al Leiter's first name is Alois. Interesting. Matt Manti, the Iceman. That was his nickname. Become the Marlins closer in like a couple seasons after this. Billy McMillan. Let's see. Kurt Miller. We're just getting some guys now. Ralph Milliard. Rob Nen, the best closer the Marlins have had in their entire franchise history. And it's true. He's the best one. He's the best one. The Marlins haven't had a closer as intimidating or as overpowering as Rob Nen since. They've had some good closers. They've had some nice flash in the pan closers as well. But we haven't had a guy that was... You almost felt like it was 100% lock with Rob Nen. And the Marlins haven't had that. You know, I'm not gonna mention. You ruined my milkshake, though. I'm gonna tell you that. Joe Orsulak. Let's keep going. Let's see. Jay Powell, who actually was. He was the one that on the scoreboard officially, on the scorecard officially got the victory, the win for Game 7 of the 1997 World Series. And I think he went to Mississippi State because, like, I think I follow him on Instagram and he posts a lot about Mississippi State baseball. Pat Rapp, who would be traded in the 97 season for a couple minor leaguers. And I don't think he made the Giants roster for the playoffs that season. And he was actually selected by the Marlins in the 1992 expansion draft from San Francisco. So the Marlins just kind of sent him back. Edgar Renteria, who also got Rookie of the Year votes. He finished second that year. Also another snub, right? Who won the 96 Rookie of the Year? Was that Todd Hollingsworth? Was that the year that he won it? Because there was like that. The Dodgers had like 3 or 4 years in a row, or 5 years in a row, or something, that they were they were getting like rookie of the years like every season. And so, Edgar Renteria got snubbed. I'll tell you that much. We all know this. We all know this. All right, let's keep going. So Edgar Renteria, Colombiano, and of course would be become one of the most clutch World Series and playoff batters of all time. Because you had the 97 playoffs, and then he was the World Series MVP in 2010 for the Giants. All right, Tony Saunders was one of the Marlins starters, and then, he had the horrific the horrific injuries that were recorded while he played for the Rays, and then when he was trying to come back to Major League Baseball in the minor leagues, he had the same horrific injury. If you're squeamish, don't look for that on YouTube, because it is oof. But he did pitch. I think he did get a victory in, I think it was Game 3 of the 97 World Series. Gary Sheffield, famous bat waggle, one of the probably one of the coolest players the Marlins have ever had. That's for sure. That is for sure. One of the guys that just had a swagger to him, alongside the waggle of that bat. But yeah, Gary Sheffield's accolades are a lot here. A lot here. From Tampa, lived in St. Petersburg at the time, still lives around the Tampa Bay area. And yeah, all of Gary Sheffield's accolades by this point. Rob Stanifer, got Brian Ward, Matt Wizena. We're just going through some dudes. Devon White, Gold Glove center fielder, had won the World Series with the Blue Jays beforehand. And at this point I guess he played well enough with the Marlins, but not to his peak when he was in Toronto. But good center fielder for sure. That's a Gold Glove center fielder. So, and you have his contributions, his stats from the 2 World Series rings that he had in Toronto. Greg Zahn, got Greg Zahn here, the backup catcher to Charles Johnson. And I got some other guys here: Dave Berg, Chris Klapinski, Brian Daubach, Alex Delgado, Jared Julesgaard. We're just going through some guys. Mark Kotsay, who's the current manager of the Oakland A's. And he also received the 97 World Series ring, because he did get called up in 97 as well. But, of course, wasn't on the playoff roster. Bob Natal. Just going through some dudes now. Joe Norris. Don Paul. Sheesh, man. Marquise Riley. Mike Redmond. There you go. This is your future 2003 World Series champion and future Marlins manager. And I think he also universally and eternally hates Dave Sampson as well. That's a lot of people. That's a very there's a lot of people on that list. But there's Mike Redmond, and he had been in the Marlins system for quite a while too, since '93 as well. As you look here, so Mike Redmond also spent a lot of time with the Marlins. A lot of time. So him winning a World Series ring as the backup catcher to Pudge Rodriguez, and was the starting catcher for the Marlins for a few seasons afterwards when Charles Johnson hadn't come back. So Mike Redmond winning a ring with them was also kind of a really good thing to see as well, because that man had been with the Fish for such a long time. And it really sucks that 2013 got his actual first chance to manage, and the Marlins, gosh, man. Anyways, anyways, Marquise Riley, let's go. John Roscoe's, Chris Sheff, let's just go. Okay, so those are the dudes. Those are other dudes, a bunch of minor league dudes at that time. All right, so here we go. Another photo here. So Al Leiter fired the first no-hitter in club history on May 11th, 1996 against Colorado. Interesting thing on the side here, glossary of medical terms. So we have all kinds of things here for everybody to know. Got the AC joint, anterior cruciate ligament, the ACL, arthrogram, a cartilage, what's a CAT scan, contusion, what does that mean? Disc, lateral ligament, MRI, medial, MCL, meniscus, posterior, PCL, quadricep muscles, quads, rotator cuff. Oof. Yeah, that information would come in handy in October. Sprain, strain, tendon, ultrasound. This list is not meant to be all-inclusive, nor should it be used as a substitute for a physician's diagnosis and or description of an injury or illness. There you go. All right, so this is the 96 season in review. So there's a bunch of Marlins stats at the time, the standings, the departmental leaders. Gary Sheffield had the highest on-base percentage in the National League in 96. Pitching here, so Kevin Brown led the NL in Major League Baseball Gary Sheffield. Well, Gary Sheffield was really. Mark McGwire had a .467 on-base percentage. Dear Lord, sheesh. Kevin Brown, 1.89 ERA, had the most shutouts in the National League as well, and was tied with Pat Hintgen of the Toronto Blue Jays. So he actually did lead Major League Baseball in that too. All the award winners, of course, John Smoltz. So Kevin Brown got snubbed by John Smoltz. Marlins will get revenge that year, 97. And yeah, Todd Hollingsworth, I knew it. I got that right. Todd Hollingsworth did win the 96 Rookie of the Year, snubbing Edgar Renteria. And of course, Hollingsworth would win a World Series with the Fish. In 2003, it would be a broadcaster for a few seasons as well. And then the Marlins' place in batting, in pitching, in fielding. Notice the Marlins' fielding was super high, so they had really good defense. All right. Other Marlins statistics that year for all the players that played for them that season. Pitchers and batters and batting leaders, club leaders. Jared Sheffield had 42 home runs. Jeff Conant had 105 RBI and had the most hits. And it was just Conant and Sheffield. And got Devon White with the stolen bases. Had 2 grand slams. Pitching leaders got Kevin Brown and Rob Nen. Pat Rapp had the most losses, and Pat Rapp, he was. It was nice to unload him, Anyways, let's keep going. More Marlins breakdowns and more miscellaneous stuff and everything like that. Individual fielding percentage and 96 highs and lows. So longest winning streak was 9. Losing streak was 7. Home attendance was 41K. Road attendance was 55K. Wonder what stadium that was. At San Diego. Okay. At San Diego. And opening day against Pittsburgh was the high for attendance. Lowest attendance at home was 14K. May 28th versus the Cincinnati Reds, and they have an asterisk there, so I want to know what that is. That was the Marlins record at the time for the lowest ever attendance at home. They've broken that several times this season. By a lot. But the fans are finally showing out. So we're rectifying that finally. Lowest attendance was at Pittsburgh, 8,315 at Three Rivers Stadium. Yikes, the apathy was high for Pirates fans at the time, huh? All right, longest game time, 4 hours and 40 minutes. Shortest game time was 2 hours and 3 minutes. There you go. A bunch of other stuff. Yeah, all right. So, day by day. Gosh, man, every single game as well. Home attendance and all their home attendance numbers here as well. But you can find all this on Baseball Reference. You don't have to get this. You don't have to get this. Only insane people like me buy the media guide and go through this. But there's some interesting tidbits. I'm not gonna lie. There might be some information here. If I actually sat down and highlighted and tabbed this up, maybe there are certain things in here that would pop out. But aside from that, we've got all of the transactions for all the minor leaguers and everybody that they signed between then in the 96, 97 off season. Get over here, bunch of stuff here. Yeah, so re-signing guys and just setting up the entire team for the 97 season. And then you have all the average attendance against the Marlins opponents in 96. So the highest average attendance was against the Braves, and the lowest average attendance was against the Phillies. And then on the road, the highest average attendance was in Colorado, and the lowest was in San Francisco. So Giants fans did not like seeing the Marlins in 96, and they sure as heck did not like seeing the Marlins in 97 for other reasons. All right. Yeah, Marlins on the road and everything like that. A bunch of attendance stuff. 20 largest home crowds that they had as well. Trying to make sure I can see this correctly. There you go. And the fan promotion that was happening at the time, they show you. Got Jackie Robinson here. So, 50th anniversary of him debuting in Major League Baseball for the Dodgers. And so now we get to all of their opponents for that season. So you got the Braves and the hotel that they stayed at. I've noticed, because we did look back, that Wayne Huizenga had business holdings and interests, investments in hotels around South Florida, at least Fort Lauderdale area. And I think he had the opposing teams, a lot of them did stay in the hotels that he had. That he had interest in or shares in or actually owned. So the man knew how to make some money. So we got all the stuff here. The Marlins versus the Braves. The Braves had owned the Marlins a lot at the time, but the Marlins would flip that around in 97. And the Marlins versus the Cubs. The Cubs were leading the series by that point too. The Marlins versus the Reds. At that time, the Marlins did lead the series against the Reds at that time, and against the Rockies too. So we'll keep going here. Against Houston, they did not. Against LA, they did not. So we get their logos here. That's the Astros logo. I still really like that Astros logo. I still really do. I really dig that look. Montreal. So the Marlins were woefully losing that series to the Expos as well. They were tied 500 at the time before the 97 season started against the Mets. Losing it to the Phillies and to the Pirates at that time too. And to the Cardinals as well. And the San Diego Padres. The Marlins were actually leading their all-time series record at that point. The San Francisco Giants and the Marlins were losing that as well, but we all know what happened later. And then you have the American League teams, because this was, of course, the first year of Interleague. So you got Baltimore, Boston, Detroit, New York, Toronto, and then you have the Eagles fighting each other, the Interleague play. 97, and this is them explaining how it worked. And the two teams, the Marlins would, their first Interleague series was against the New York Yankees, which is pretty fitting, huh? So, and these are the air miles the teams would travel to South Florida from their home cities. Keep going. All right, so there's Jeff Conine winning the All-Star Game MVP award in 1995. He had the game-winning home run. And then you have a bunch of other stuff from like the league office's phone number and NL. They look, the Arizona Diamondbacks showing up here because they had already been awarded the franchise, and of course the next season they would debut. You had the Angels, the Twins, the White Sox, the A's, the Mariners, at the time the Cleveland Indians, now they're the Guardians, Kansas City Royals, Brewers, who were in the American League at the time, the Texas Rangers, and then you got here as well the Mariners, and then you got the Tampa Bay Devil Rays here, who had not debuted yet. Okay, and then you have the Marlins career batting leaders, all the stats here. All this, of course, is outdated. Go on Baseball Reference, career pitching leaders. All the awards and recognitions at this point, all their All-Stars, Silver Sluggers, Baseball Digest, all rookie teams, Player of the Month, Pitcher of the Month, Player of the Weeks, Relief Man of the Month, and Gold Gloves. And then some South Florida Baseball Writers Awards at that time, too. Okay. Then you got single game marks and everything like that. I don't want to harp on these too much because all of this is outdated. And then the last time it happened, Marlins opponents, the last time they had certain things. Look at that. Lenny Harris. Larry Harris had a grand slam against the Marlins in 96 while he was with the Cincinnati Reds. Of course, won the 2003 World Series with the Fish and is a Miami native. Postponed games at the time at Pro Player Stadium since 93. So, yeah, I mean, this not as horrible as you would think at that point. But, you know, we got the roof now. It's fine. All-time player roster. These are every single player that's played for the Marlins at that point before 97 started. South Florida baseball history. This is the same thing that they showed in the 93 one. So, but it's a nice summary of baseball in South Florida. Records show that Abner Doubleday, who legend credits as having invented the game of baseball, was stationed at a military base in South Florida late in his career. So you got a bunch of club teams, the Miami Magicians, Florida East Coast League, the Miami Wahoos, the Miami Beach Flamingos, the Fort Lauderdale Tarpons, West Palm Beach Indians, the War, all this other just bunch of stuff. Or the Miami Sun Sox, Miami Beach Flamingos, Fort Lauderdale Lions. And then you got the original Miami Marlins in 1956. So a bunch of stuff here. And then you got this photo, which you can find online. I found this. I think I've posted this too. This is Jimmy Fox, who was living in Miami at the time, Hall of Famer, alongside Satchel Paige, another Hall of Famer there, who actually pitched for the Marlins. And there's the baseball club chronology for the Fish. So we had this before as well. August 8th, 1985. And this is when Major League Baseball decided that they were going to expand 2 more teams in the National League. And then all the history going into the Fish becoming the Fish. All right, let's keep going. Bunch of stuff here. Expansion draft. We've seen this before. Inaugural season. I'm just going to keep going. Marlins first. A bunch of other stuff here. A bunch of Marlins firsts here. All right. I got to wrap this up. This is getting long. I got Tony Saunders here and Todd Dunwoody, their organizational pitcher and player of the year in 96. Of course, Tony Saunders got his ring with the Fish. Todd Dunwoody did get a call-up in 97 as well and received the ring. But Saunders actually pitched in the World Series. So, Player Development Scouting Awards and a bunch of other stuff. And you'll notice there's a bunch of guys here that did become coaches or coached elsewhere in Major League Baseball after this. Carlos Tosca and this Charlotte Knights. These are their minor league affiliates at the time. So Charlotte Knights was their AAA affiliate. The Portland Sea Dogs was their AA affiliate in the Eastern League. The Brevard County Manatees, which was their Florida State League team. The Kane County Cougars, Midwest League team, single A as well. The Utica Blue Sox, their New York Penn League team, single A. And then you have the Gulf Coast Marlins, played at their spring training facility in Brevard County. That's all there right there. There's the Marlins logo, their script logo, teal there. All their minor league players. Gosh, there's a bunch. I'm not gonna go through this. Let's keep going. We're almost at the end, folks. We're almost done. Fingers are getting tired. Okay. There's Billy the Marlin. There you go. We already seen this, Organizational Players of the Year. And then more baseball information and publicity. You can call them and stuff as their staff and all that stuff. And then there's the radio and TV coverage. So the Marlins were with WQAM at that time for radio, and TV was with Sports Channel Florida. And yeah, so talk about it. 560 WQAM, the Marlins radio network. Oh, I love how much teal is here. This feels good. It just looks good. It's the way it's what the baseball gods intended. Let's keep going. This is their Spanish radio as well. There's Philo Ramirez, rest in peace. Manolo Alvarez. The Sunshine Network. Yes, the Marlins were also on the Sunshine Network. So you got here the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Orlando Magic, the Miami Heat, and the Florida Marlins. These are the rules of interest. A night game is any game that starts at 5 p.m. or later. I did not know that was the actual time. So it's like breakfast ending at 10:30 at McDonald's. All right. The qualifications for a batting championship, for pitching championship, the save rule, the blown save definition, consecutive hitting streaks, consecutive game hitting streaks, consecutive game playing streaks, determining batting average, and a bunch of other stuff here. So waiver periods, trading regulations at the time. Florida Marlins Foundation and stuff. Pro Player Stadium. There's the logo. There's our beloved Pro Player Stadium. This is the renovations they did for baseball and all the stuff that has to do with that. There's the seating map. I do have a version of this as part of my merch store. I recreated it, but this is the 97 one. I have the 2003 one, if you guys want to check that out. There you go. But baseball seating capacity at the time was 41,855. And then they show you how much was on the lower bowl and the upper deck. And how many club seats that they had. So there were about 18,386 in the lower deck. 6,705 club seats that they had at the time. Of course, the whole darn thing held 65K. For baseball, not for football. And then a bunch of other stuff about the stadium and everything like that. And then you have the spring training facility out in Space Coast Stadium, which is now, I think, the U.S. Softball whatever association now has taken over that entire complex because the Marlins made the trade when Loria got the team. They moved all of their operations from Space Coast Stadium, Brevard County, to Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter. The Expos moved into Space Coast Stadium and stayed there, became the Nationals, still stayed there, and then moved over to West Palm Beach with the Astros. All right, and there's the 97 spring training schedule, pregame schedule, spring training results, and pro player sports apparel. And there's the Florida Marlins logo. And we are done. That is it. So yeah, this is it. This is the 97 media guide. This is what I wanted to do because there's no baseball today. But it's still, I mean, I like how clean the look of this is. Look, I mean, it's just the fifth season logo. Beautiful logo. Black background. Copper plate. Typeface. What more did you need? And it became a very, very magical season. So, that's it. I slammed it on. All right, folks, I'm done. Whoever watched this, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.